the role of the media in promoting and protecting human rights. Then we will have presentations by our senior legal officer, Mr. Basiruba, on the state of human rights, and Mr. Abdumane on the status report on the monitoring of the government white paper on the TRRC. Then we will open the floor. So at this point, I would like to hand over the mic to our welcome remarks and then an overview on the mandate, functions, and powers of the Commission, as well as the role of the media in promoting and protecting human rights. Mr. Chair, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, our able moderator, the Director of Communication, Mr. Ture, and good morning of the media, and of course our commissioners, Commissioner Drame present, and also staff of the NHRC who are present with us. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the NHRC, I warmly welcome you all to this press briefing. Again, I really want to express my appreciation. You have all turned up. You know, the number of, I thought I was at the White House when I saw the mics on this table. You've turned up in your numbers. And this also really shows the importance in which you put to this press briefing. Maybe let me give some context. Let me perhaps start with the objective of this press media and then look at other things. But today's engagement really serves two purposes. One of it is to share with you the findings of the 2024 State of Human Rights Report, which was submitted this year, which as required by law. And of course, copies will be made available to you after the press briefing, physical copies. We also have electronic copies. But also, we will look at, and my colleagues here will also look at, do a summary of the status report on monitoring on the recommendation of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission. And for your information, the NHRC is the institution that has been mandated to monitor the implementation, and that is why we're giving you a report about the status of the report. So both reports, as was also mentioned by Mr. Ture, it reflects the National Human Rights Commission's ongoing effort to promote accountability, transparency, and respect for human rights in the Gambia. But perhaps just to give more context, what is the statutory basis of these reports? We're not creating reports just because we want to create reports, but under Section 33 of the National Human Rights Commission Act 2017 as amended in 2020, the National Human Rights Commission is mandated by law to submit an annual report to the National Assembly every year, and at the end of each financial year. And this report, it says, I'm quoting from provisions of the Section 33, it says that the report must evaluate the state of human rights in the country. We have to evaluate the state of human rights. We must also highlight steps taken by the Commission to promote and protect rights, including investigations and recommendations, and also include any other relevant information concerning the Commission activities. The law further requires that this report be published and gazetted. This is part of the reason. It was published, it was submitted to the National Assembly, it was gazetted, and this process is also the dissemination of it. So we are doing exactly what the law mandates us to do. Now, regarding the other report, which is the government white paper, if you remember when the TRRC made its recommendation, it recommended that the NHRC should be the body that will monitor the implementation of the recommendations. And the government, in their white paper, accepted that this recommendation. And if I'm right, I think this is the third report that we have produced. So again, this report that you see is what NHRC has been mandated to do, and this is what you will get, what the status of implementation is. But quickly, so that we are all on the same page, just to remind you briefly that the NHRC is an independent statutory body established by an act of the National Assembly to promote and protect rights in the Gambia. We are, and some people still, the other day somebody asked me about our NGO status or CSO status. We are not. It's good that we say these things, because I also remember a particular media person not long ago decried that they don't see us in these demonstrations. I say, no, we are there monitoring. It is not the mandate of the Commission to be holding placards. But just to show that, to elaborate that our functions include investigating allegations of human rights violation. We investigate. We also, not on our own volition, we go and investigate, but we also receive complaints, and we do receive complaints even from the media. Some of you know that we receive complaints from you. Sometimes it's not even something affecting you, but something affecting somebody else. We advise the government and institutions on laws and policies affecting human rights. Again, I will want to elaborate on this. We have a big advisory role on government, and sometimes when something happens, you get the media saying, we have not heard NHRC. They have not said anything. Be rest assured that we have an advisory role, and this advisory role involves writing to the institution, but also engaging them directly. And this is what we do. You may not be aware of that, but we do. Just to update you, yesterday the commission and its staff had a very good meeting at the office of the Inspector General of Police to look at very pertinent human rights issues. We had a 2 hours meeting, closed door, just to tell you, because sometimes people, they only think they see us when we make a press release, but our role surpasses press releases. Just for you to know, we do a lot of awareness raising, and I'm sure you see that on the TV. And we provide education on human rights. We do a lot of capacity building trainings for security personnel and many others. We monitor compliance with international human rights obligations. This we do, and we also prepare shadow reports. And we prepare our reports and send them to treaty bodies. We do that. We make recommendations to improve respect for rights and good governance. So these are many things that the NHRC does. But importantly, for you to know, we operate independently. In that we report directly to the National Assembly, not to any ministry or executive body, for you to also know. And that's why our reports are submitted to the National Assembly. It is the National Assembly that actually supervises, if I can use that word, the NHRC. And there are occasions when the National Assembly will call on the NHRC to shed light on the status of human rights, generally, or on specific issues. Well, quickly, the media. Your role is really very important. You are definitely an essential partner and ally in the human rights ecosystem. You are key. So therefore, a free, responsible, and vibrant media is important. It is key. Because what does it do? It helps expose violations and injustice. It gives voice to the voiceless. You promote transparency and accountability. And also you educate the public about their rights and duties. We therefore see today's event not just as a press briefing, but as a continuation of this partnership we have with the media in advancing the protection and promotion of human rights. That said, and I think everybody keeps on saying, you also have a duty, a responsibility to report fairly and accurately. You also get your credibility if you report fairly and accurately, and not to spread hate speech, misinformation, and disinformation. I'll just give you an anecdote, but it's on the positive side. 2 days ago, I got a WhatsApp message from a journalist who's doing a documentary on the TRRC. He said to me, Mr. Juve, we want to interview you. We know nothing has happened with the TRRC. I told him, listen, we are having a presser on Thursday. It will be good to come. And I can also send you an electronic copy. I told him that it will not be a fair, accurate reflection if you just make that statement, because the person seems to have a good clout. And then just yesterday by 11:30, he again wrote and said that, and with a quotation coming from the chairperson, it says that the slow pace of implementation shows that the way the implementation is going, it will take the government 60 years. And it says, in quotes, chairperson, I said, please remove this. I never said that. Although I remember a particular journalist who seems to be here, I will mention their name, in a panel discussion mentioned they were just computing what has been achieved, what has been done, ongoing. That person said that by the way things are going, it may probably take 60 years. But you see, to ascribe that to me, and it would have come out on I could have seen myself in all the headlines, and of course I would get a call and say, Mr. Juve, you are the one monitoring. How dare you say that? Okay, I'm saying this because don't be lazy. Just reach out. So this person will not now have this quotation saying that Emmanuel Juve said it, and Commissioner Dame will knock at my door and say that, Chairman, did you actually say this? So, but okay, it's important. You play a very important role. Double check, and don't amplify hate speech, misinformation. You play a very key role in this whole process. But just quickly, I want to acknowledge the staff of the NHRC who have done fantastic work in putting together these reports. We do. A lot of people feel that we only do complaints handling. We're not there, but there is a lot of work that is done, and producing these reports takes a lot of. So I thank you, the staff and the commissioners who work tirelessly to make sure and double check that we have an accurate report of what we give out. So I thank the NHRC really, and all our partners who support us in this great process in trying to create a better society for the Gambia. But again, quickly, brief, just to say that a summary of these reports will be given by Senior Legal Officer Bashiru Ba on my right, and also Senior Investigator Officer Abdumane on my left. They will talk you through the state of human rights in the Gambia, and also status of implementation of the government white paper, respectively. And these presentations will be followed by an opportunity for questions, clarification, and discussion. And after that, also we hope you'll disseminate the findings, read it, of these reports, because they speak directly to issues of justice, accountability, and governance that concern every Gambian. Again, I really thank you for coming to this presser, and we hope that we will continue this partnership of talking together. So I wish you a productive engagement. I hand it back to our able moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, for that overview. Ladies and gentlemen, just to inform you that if you want to use the restroom, it's just behind this partition. Next on the program, we have Mr. Basiruba, Senior Legal Officer, to take us through the state of human rights.
Let him come here so that he can speak to the mic.
Sorry, this place is too tight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Moderator. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, members of the Commission, my colleagues from the National Human Rights Commission, and members of the media. Good morning to you all. So my task is to take you through one of our main reports of the year 2024, one of our main statutory reports that we are required to submit, which is the State of Human Rights report of the Gambia for the period between January 1st, 2024, all the way to December 31st, 2024, covering events, highlights, positives, both positive and negative activities or actions and omissions that may have impacted, whether rightly or negatively, positively or negatively, on human rights in the Gambia, for the attention of members of the public, but also for the attention of the National Assembly and the state by extension. So in this report, we conducted a research of mixed approach by using desk research and also consultation with stakeholders, especially the duty bearers, on some of the activities that we have been seeing, or some of the things that we have been seeing around the country affecting human rights, so that we would have accurate information and report as such for the benefit of the public. So in this year's 2024's report, we looked at around 20 thematic areas, ranging from the traditional civil and political rights all the way to economic, social and cultural rights, but also environmental rights. And we picked up key highlights, especially some of the things that have happened which directly led to violations of fundamental human rights. And though we will not be able to cover each and every scenario that we have in the report, but we'll just take you through some of the key highlights. When we looked at the security status of the state, unlawful killings and the right to a life in the Gambia, we found out that for the particular year, there was no state-sanctioned killing, as far as our research went, on individuals in the Gambia. Therefore, we couldn't find any extrajudicial execution that was meted out by the state in that particular year. However, we found out that there was an unfortunate trend of a lot of killings perpetrated by private individuals. For example, in January 2024, there was a stabbing to death of a young lady at the Westfield Forex Bureau. It received a lot of media attention, and then unfortunately the lady passed away. And in April of the same year, a body was discovered around the beachside, around this Senegambia area, and then this woman, or this person, was also believed to have been killed. And in July 2024, 2 stabbing incidents were reported, which led to the death of 2 individuals. We are quoting these examples just to show and remind the state that the right to life goes beyond the prohibition of the state to kill individuals, but it expands to elements of the state obligation to protect life. This means that the state needs to put in place apparatus that would, in the first place, as much as possible, prevent extrajudicial or illegal unlawful killings meted out by both state and non-state actors, one, but also where such killings happened, the state is under a responsibility to make sure that those who perpetrated these crimes are brought to book. So we highlighted these examples for the state to take measures to limit or reduce the rate of stabbings and murder in the country, but also to investigate and prosecute the perpetrators of these unlawful acts. And in terms of the prohibition of torture, we acknowledge that there is a law that was enacted in 2023, which is the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act of 2023. But despite this, we still received about 4 complaints of alleged torture, inhuman or degrading treatment in the Gambia. And 2 of these complaints were against police officers of the Gambia police force, who were involved in forceful arrest and assault of an individual on the 25th of July 2024. And then another one was an alleged battery from a PIU officer during a clash between the PIU and youths of Wellingara over a disputed land on the 16th of August 2024. Then the third one was an allegation of assault by an immigration officer on an individual who they had intercepted and asked for documentation whilst the guy was busy on his prayer bid. Unfortunately, the guy was assaulted and then he reported the case before the National Human Rights Commission. Since these instances happened, positive steps authorities which were involved, and it led to some disciplinary measures against the perpetrators. We are highlighting this to bring to the attention of the authorities that there is more work that needs to be done in terms of enforcing the Prevention and Prohibition of Torture Act, and also bringing people to account despite of their position or what authority they have in the Gambia. And beyond this, we also looked at the perception of our justice sector in the Gambia. This was largely based on a publication by the Afro Barometer in May 2024, which indicated that more than half of the respondents expressed little or no confidence in the delivery of justice. And we highlighted this because even though it is perception, it is important, because we usually say that it's not only the delivery or accessing justice that is important, but the perception of people in terms of accessing justice in the country is important. And we highlighted this, and we made several recommendations for speedy access to quality and equitable justice. We also highlighted incidents of threats to freedom of the press and the media. Even though in the reporting year, Gambia was ranked as part of the 10 best performing countries on the continent, but there were a series of threats of cases or actual cases against media personnel for publications that they may have done against members of the executive or politicians. And unfortunately, some people were taken to court, and some people were threatened with court action, including very huge amounts of money, all the way to $50 million. This is important because you don't have to jail media personnel to threaten his work. You could use the courts, you could use the threat of taking the individual to court to hamper his or her work. And this is not very healthy for freedom of the media and the press globally. So we highlighted this and made a series of recommendations, including for those who are already before the courts, for individuals that have taken them to court, to consider the possibility of withdrawing the cases against the media personnel. We also recognize on the freedom of association and assembly that even though the IGP had granted some requests for permit to protest, there were instances where said requests were refused by the IGP, and then unfortunately in some instances the individuals went ahead and staged peaceful protest, but it led to arrest of a series of activists, including Marnyang of Gambia participates, and other individuals. And we also considered a very important aspect of human rights in relation to drugs and substance abuse in the Gambia. And I think this was one of the few instances we looked at this from the human rights perspective, because 2024 saw a rise in the consumption of one deadly drug known as locally as Kush. And in June 2024, the DLEAG recorded about 113 substance abuse related to Kush cases, and unfortunately 11 fatalities were recorded due to or connected to the overuse or abuse of Kush in the Gambia. So this is highlighted because it has implications on the health of individuals, but also on the right to life of individuals. Therefore, the state was called upon to take measures to limit or to control this particular substance because of its deadly nature. And I will skip some of these things, and I will allow you to read, or I will encourage you to read through the reports that are going to be shared, considering the limited time that we have. But I just want to touch on two more things. The first one is the issue of business and human rights. And this is important because in April 2024, we saw a publication from a Germany-based information outlet, the DW, which reported that artisanal fishermen in the Gambia are having very serious challenges in terms of accessing fish in the Gambia because of companies or trawlers that are fishing in the source of the Gambia, which have considerably higher power in terms of the materials they use at sea and the boats that they use at sea, to the expense of our artisanal fishermen. And this has led to shortage of fish in the Gambia, but also a limitation on the source of livelihoods for Gambian artisanal fishermen. So this was flagged in addition to an agreement that exists which allows Senegal to put some boats in the Gambia in terms of fishing, about 250 boats or so in Gambian waters. And these fishing boats are also considerably more advanced than what we have in the Gambia, and they are allowed to dock fish in the Gambia and dock in Senegal. And we observe that this has considerably affected our own purchase power or our ability to access fish and therefore food within the Gambia. And we made a series of recommendations as well, including for the state to consider the implementation of the United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights in the Gambia. And the last one that I want to cite as an example is the issue of migrant smuggling, which has unfortunately led to series of loss of lives of youths in the Gambia. And for example, in July 2024, a boat carrying about 180 people traveling from the shores of Gunjur, attempting to go to Europe, unfortunately capsized. And at the time of preparation of the report, or at the time of publication, it was considered that at least 14 people had died, and then 121 passengers were missing at the time this issue was reported in the media. But we later found out that in fact the fatalities were much higher, because many of those who were considered missing had actually perished at sea. And this also has serious implications on life of individuals in the Gambia. And then we flagged this and called the state to action. There are other examples in the report as well. But beyond the thematic areas that we discussed, we also identified a series of challenges that we think are still hampering enjoyment of life, of rights, rather, in the Gambia. And it includes the issue of legal and policy gaps that guide the conduct of business, for example, press freedom, rights of women, and the poor implementation of the Persons with Disabilities Act of the Gambia, and also the issue of lack of awareness. So these are some of the key highlights from the State of Human Rights Report of 2024. And I kindly invite you to, even if you don't have a physical copy, you should be able to have access to the soft copy via our staff and our commissioners. With that, I thank you very much, and I give back to Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ba, for that brilliant overview. Like Mr. Ba stated, the reports will be made available to you. We may not have enough copies for everyone, but you can access it from the NHRC website. Next, let's invite Mr. Abdul A. Mane, the Senior Investigation Officer, to also take us through the status report on the monitoring of the government white paper on the TRRC report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toure, to the distinguished members of the media and my colleagues from the National Human Rights Commission on the third status monitoring report on the TRRC. As you might be aware, the TRRC operated for over 3 years and issued 365 recommendations, out of which 265 recommendations, out of which 263 were actually accepted by the government. And as part of the National Human Rights Commission's obligation, it was mandated in the government's white paper to be the natural body to monitor the implementations of the recommendation. Specifically in paragraph 564, the government accepted the recommendations of the TRRC by stating that the government accepts the recommendation of the Commission. The NHRC is an independent body with the statutory mandate to promote and protect human rights. The NHRC is therefore well placed to monitor the implementation of the report. So in order to actualize this, the government proceeded to come up with the implementation plan, and which was issued in 2022. So we have 2023. So the National Human Rights Commission began actually to issue the status reports. So, but on the side of government, in order to ensure that they actually implement this recommendation, the government came up with a steering committee. And the steering committee, in addition to the steering committee, there were 59 implementing agencies. So in the implementation plan, it is basically the roadmap of government showing how the government is going to implement these recommendations. And in the implementation plan, the government have identified 304 activities. So as I earlier has highlighted, we have 265 recommendations, 263 were accepted. The 263 were now divided into 304 activities across 59 implementing agencies of government. So if you look at the implementation plan, it, as you will see in the report, it has certain key features. For example, it has issues relating to justice and accountability, issues relating to reparation, issues relating to guarantees of non-repetition, memorialization, law reform or legal reform. So in the report, if you you will see the annex. So the annex basically explains each of these activities, what has been done by the implementing agencies, and also you will see that the implementation plan is from 2023 to 2027. So we are now in 2025, and that is why this report is the third status report. So if you look at the implementation plan, we have red, which indicates that that particular activity has not been implemented. We have yellow, which is showing that that particular activity has is actually ongoing. Ongoing basically means that the government has actually taken steps. For example, there are certain recommendations, like, for example, prosecute A, B, C, and D. But in order to ensure that prosecution is done, there are certain steps that needs to be taken. For example, enactment of laws. For example, establishment of a special prosecutor's office. So we are yet to the prosecution is yet to happen, but steps have already been taken. So you would would see in most of those cases they're actually ongoing as opposed to implemented. So not implemented implemented activities are actually inviolate. Those ones are the ones which indicated that actually those activities have actually been implemented. So as I indicated, the implementation plan came before the NHRC commenced reporting, well before the implementation plan came. So before then, for the first and second status report, NHRC has been reporting on the government white paper. However, this year we have decided to report specifically on the implementation plan, because the implementation plan is the government's roadmap as to how they want to implement these recommendations. So which is 304 activities. And as I indicated, in the implementation plan we have issues relating to justice and accountability, legal reform, reparations, capacity building, reconciliation, memorialization, etc. So the first two reports, 2023, 2024, were actually on the white paper, based on the white paper, but the 2025 is actually based on the implementation plan. So how did we actually conduct this assessment to be able to monitor government's status of implementation? So the NHRC established a multi-stakeholder committee which meets quarterly, 4 times in each year. Every quarter the committee would meet, and then these implementing institutions would report to the National Assembly and National Human Rights Commission as to the steps they have taken towards actually implementing the recommendations that or the activities that have been assigned to them as a result of the TRRC recommendations. So we also look at reports released by the media, online reports, and also based on our own reports also, we rely on this to actually come up with these status reports, and eventually the report is validated by the stakeholders. So as I indicated, we have 304 activities in the implementation plan, assigned to 59 implementing institutions in varying degrees. For example, the National Human Rights Commission may be assigned 4 activities, whereas the police might be assigned more than 20 or 25 different activities based on the recommendations of the TRRC and based on how it is very important in order to ensure that there is a rule of law, that those specific issues are addressed at the level of the police. It's basically like a medicine that needs to be administered at the level of these institutions to ensure that we have a society anchored on rule of law. So this year's 2025 report, we have 143 activities, representing 47% that are ongoing activities, meaning basically government has taken a step towards implementing the recommendations. So the recommendations cut across these 143 activities, steps have been taken, meaning they are ongoing. 60 activities representing 20% have been implemented, meaning government has already implemented those activities. So this is reports from institutions, online media reports, or through our own findings. And 101 activities representing 33% is remain not implemented. So meaning basically government has not done anything about these activities and they remain to be not implemented. So this accord also cut across a number of recommendations. So one might ask, why is it that NHRC actually this time around we are reporting based on the implementation plan, not on the white paper? The white paper is a proposal showing intent of government to implement, but want to implement is the implementation plan. And this is where the recommendations have been divided into different activities across for the 59 implementing agencies. So, like I indicated, the total number of activities is 304. We have 143 not ongoing. We have 60 implemented. We have 101 not implemented. So, what are the challenges? Why we have this data? One of the challenges we realize, and this speaks to ownership and also leadership in terms of the implementation of the implementation plan. We realize that implementing institutions have not mainstreamed these activities in their institutional budgets when they are reporting to the National Assembly, because annually the National Assembly would come up would make an approval of government budget. But looking at this budget, you would realize that these activities that have been identified for the implementing institutions, in most cases, these implementing institutions have not included them in their budget. So, and therefore it becomes difficult in terms of implementation. And also, we also observe that most of these institutions do not understand their roles in the implementation plan. Because the implementation plan, for example, says that, okay, the Ministry of Justice, this is what you need to do. But you realize that in their reporting to the National Human Rights Commission, they would not stick specifically to their activities. So there is a need for training of these institutions so that they'll be able to understand their mandate under the implementation plan. Another issue is insufficient staffing and technical capacity. So as part of our reporting process, we observed that in some institutions, different personnel have been assigned with the responsibility of reporting to the National Assembly. And you realize that there are different level of understanding in terms of those staffs to be able to actually report accurately on the status of the work that has been done. And some institutions, instead of actually reporting on their activities as per the implementation plan, which makes reporting quite challenging. Some institutions would report on their institutional activities, which is different from their activities in the implementation plan. So we encourage all institutions to also look at the implementation plan and take ownership of this process, because this implementation plan is designed to be a holistic medicine of curing the problems that Gambia have faced over the years. And therefore, we've committed ourselves as a government to say, all right, this is the implementation plan, and this is how we're going to go about this in order to ensure that our common problems or our common disease are addressed. So we also observe that there are delays in areas like reparations. The TRRC did interim reparations, and 1,009 victims have been identified for reparations. 757 have been paid more than 19%. 158 have been paid 50,000 and below. So plus the 54 West African, making it 1,009 victims. So, but the outstanding reparations, which account for about over 168 million, has not been delivered. And government has now set up a reparations commission to carry on that mandate. But as per the feedback we got, there is fatigue from victims in terms of the slow pace, and it is hoped that this will be addressed in the near future. And also lack of regular updates from government to actually brief the public, and also meetings with implementing institutions as to what they have done. So apart from the NHRC's monitoring, in terms of that coordination, we have observed that there is limited coordination in terms of institutions actually reporting to the coordinating institution, which is the post-TRRC unit, which the government has established under the Ministry of Justice. So we feel that as part of the recommendation, in order to accelerate the implementation of the recommendations, there needs to be budget allocated in the national budgets of these respective institutions to ensure that there is that ownership in terms of to ensure the implementation of the recommendations. So that is the best way of showing ownership, and we observe that needs to. And also to train the implementing institutions at the level of the Ministry of Justice through the post-TRRC, to train the implementing institutions and make them aware of their role, the activities that are assigned to them. Some of the activities are low-hanging fruits that do not require so much resources, but because of the limited understanding, it kind of delays the process. And to revive the security sector reform, process, and also to accelerate its leadership under the Ministry of Justice, because we understand we have the national security policy, the national security reform strategy, the national security sector reform strategy, and a number of policies. But in terms of seeing these policies actually implemented at the level of the respective institutions, we think that is a challenge. And one of the reasons for that basically is because before the National Security, the National Office of National Security was not created as an act of parliament, but we've received information that recently the law creating the Office of the National Security has been passed by parliament. And this gives the institution the authority to be able to actually implement some of the initiatives at the level on regarding security sector reform. Also to explore domestic and international options for prosecuting perpetrators is part of the recommendations that we think should be looked at. We've observed that a number of countries outside, be it Switzerland, the US, Germany, we've had a number of universal jurisdiction cases being tried, and therefore domestically we should accelerate the implementation. So these are some of the observations that should be looked at, but the report, like I highlighted, is very detailed. If you look at the annexes, you will see the expected outcome. You will see 23, 24, 25, 26, or 27, in which that particular activity should be implemented, and also you will see the implementing institution. So it kind of gives you the roadmap to basically track, for example, the Ministry of Justice, what it should do, whether or not it has done that particular activity. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mani. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we would like to open the floor for questions. You can state your name and your affiliate media and make it very brief. I apologize once again that the room is so tight. Maybe if you have questions, just try to be in front so that the cameras can capture it.
I have a question.
Oh,
Are you surprised?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a question. I'm trying to multitask. Yusuf Taylor for Askanwe Media. Thank you very much for your presentations and your statements on the issue of human rights. I have a series of questions, but I will limit them to 2 or 3, and then so my colleagues can come, and maybe there's chance later. The first question is, of course, regarding the issue of, you've highlighted in your statement about the human rights, state of human rights. A series of assaults have happened, sometimes on even security officers themselves are involved in this. And you've mentioned that there have been some disciplinary actions that have taken place. How are you keeping track of those? What kind of disciplinary actions are taking place? Is it having the desired effect? Because we are seeing what is happening in the country right now. It does not seem like these disciplinary actions are working, right? Then coming to the TRRC, Mr. Mane, thank you very much for your brilliant presentations. My question is regarding the issue of the TRRC recommendations that have been completed. We understand you must follow the implementation plan, but you should also have a mechanism to come back, because last year it was 16 recommendations that was completed, and this year it's reported now, you said a percentage, 20-something percent, right? That is completed, if I'm not mistaken, about 20% that is completed, right? So, and then if you look at it, back then it was around 6% that was completed, if you say 16, right? So we just want to get, if you can bring us back, fine, you must do your implementation and monitor to see how that is going. But bring us back, how many recommendations have been completed? We think that's what we need to know, yes, in particular. So those 2 questions for now, and then I have more, but let me allow my colleagues to ask questions and for you to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's there now, no?
Thank you very much. My name is Alu Sise, from QTV Gambia. I would just like to know from you, Mr. Chair, I mean, as a commission, how do you ensure that, there's that independence and impartiality, especially when you're dealing with politically sensitive cases, like in the case of arrest of protesters? How do you handle those cases? Knowing the fact that, government is actually funding your activities. How do you ensure that there's an impartiality and of course, independence?
Maybe we should allow to respond. Mr. Mani, first question.
Okay, thank you very much. Like I said, there is a shift in the reporting format. And also, I think we had this consultation with the post-NHRC, that is the Ministry of Justice. We also have to be fair to government because, of course, we have the recommendations, but the recommendations are spread. Maybe one recommendation is that maybe you have 5 different activities. For example, let's say prosecute Yaya Jammeh for a particular human rights violation. But in order to prosecute Yaya Jammeh, of course, you need to have the office of the prosecutor. You need to have the SAM. So, for example, 5 activities, 2 have been done. We can only say that those recommendations are ongoing. But we cannot say they are not implemented or not implemented. And we cannot actually, if we are to report on that recommendation, we can only say it is ongoing. And that is why we said we've been spread over 304 activities. So it's even, government has even given itself more work to do, from 263 recommendations to 304 activities. So that is why this year we decided to report. So for example, last year it was 16%, 2024. 2023 it was less than that. So, but now we have 20% of the recommendations have been implemented. So of course it creates a kind of an issue whether we're now reporting according to recommendations. But as far as we're concerned, because we also are a government entity, the recommendations have been reduced into activities. And so I think it is better to now track the activities instead of the recommendation, because still we can still refer to the recommendation by looking at the broad activities that have been specified in the implementation plan. Because this is government's blueprint to say we are going to implement the recommendations.
Recommendations have been completed.
We can.
Yes. Please.
I think what he has indicated is that because we shifted our reporting format from focusing on the government white paper to the implementation. So this year when we were doing the report, we looked at 2023 to now. So currently from 2023 to the time we reported, 60 activities, right? Instead of recommendations, 60 activities of the 304 activities in the implementation plan have been implemented. So I think that's what he's saying. So, and then the ongoing, where steps have been taken but they have not been concluded, is 143, sorry. And the activities in which nothing has happened is 101 activities. So basically we can say that more than 2/3 of the activities have still not been done, because there's 143 plus 101. At the end of the day, I think what we are all very concerned is what has been done and dusted, not the steps, because the victims want to see an end result. Not we want to see prosecution. You have set up the Office of Special Prosecutor, you have done all of that. But for the victim, he wants to see prosecution. The end product is more important. So, but in our monitoring, we are also concerned. To be fair, as Abdul has said, to the state is to also enumerate the steps that have been taken for for a particular activity to be implemented. So, Flex, I hope that answers your question.
No.
From 2023.
Yeah. I'm grateful for the fantastic work the NHRC does, but this is where I come in. We are now, as journalists, getting confused with the whole issue. Fine. Activities is very important and they translate to the recommendations. We understand. But we want to still be able to understand how many TRRC recommendations have been completed. Regardless, it still needs to come back so that we can follow the situation. If us as journalists, I'm one of the people who follow the process closest. If I'm telling you that somebody like me, we are now losing it, we are not able to, the continuity is not there. Fine, do the activities and monitor those because of the implementation plan. We completely understand. And we will report those. But what we will also report is that we cannot be told how many TRRC recommendations have been completed this year. We will also have to report that. So if you can help us, maybe you might need some time, but we need to know how many TRRC recommendations have been completed. Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe Chuck and I think what the government have done is that, so you look at the recommendations. To ensure that you implement the recommendations, you have to break them down into activities, right? So if you go back to the implementation plan, it has been done. So because if you also, even if you go into the government white paper, you realize that in fact to effectively implement any of those recommendations, they need to be broken down. And I think that's what they have done in the government white paper, in the implementation plan. But yeah, I think that's probably one step that we can also look at.
Yes, I think just to agree, it was the way we were doing our reporting initially. We were going straight to the recommendation. At that period, the government didn't have an implementation plan. But if you are a monitoring body, you look at the implementation plan of the government with the indicators and with the activities. So we felt that we can better monitor using their implementation plan, and this is why we're here. But nonetheless, I think we get what you're saying. And I think that is what he was trying to unpack by saying the medicine. So the activities speak to the recommendations. Perhaps moving forward, what we'll do that and say, having done completed activity 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, it has now sorted out recommendation so and so. We'll look at it as we progress. Yeah, but it is, as a monitoring body, it's easier if we are monitoring based on their implementation plan that they have rolled out. I hope this helps. But we also take your concern, because now you are having problems saying, okay, they've done these activities. How does it speak to a particular recommendation? I think that's what you're saying.
Exactly, because from now, what we will have to report, the recommendations jump from 16
yes, I know.
recommendations that were implemented, but now 20-something activities have been implemented. And I don't know if you can see, there is a discontinuity.
60,
yeah.
This is, but clearly
60.
We understand
the reporting. Remember, we were given the mandate. The government was slow in coming up with an implementation plan. We started reporting before they roll out their implementation plan. So once that was why, this is what you're talking about. You'll see, we're talking about the recommendations then. Now they came up with a comprehensive implementation plan. So we decided to change the report and target each of those activities. Have they done this? Have they done this? But of course, all those activities speaks to the recommendation. But we'll look at that. Good point, Flex. But since I have the mic, maybe I can just...
No, but maybe because if you go to the... maybe we can help you do that, because every activity is linked to a recommendation in the implementation plan. So if you go to our report, you would see that wherever the state indicated an activity, in brackets they would link it to a recommendation. So we can also see how we we tease that out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
But since he is a deep investigative journalist himself, I'm sure he can spend more hours to tabulate this. As Commissioner says.
You are giving me more work there.
But we'll also look at it as we move ahead. But this is also the job of the journalist. You can easily say out of these activities, because the report is really comprehensive with blue, green, red, So, but you've mentioned something, the issue of the action of the police generally, which, since although we are dealing with the 2024 report, it's an ongoing issue, and we will not shy away from the fact that it is a problem. And I've just mentioned here that one of the issues that we raised when we met with the police high command was relating to same issues, because we have done a lot of capacity building training for the police, but also the police, as you know, just 3 months ago had 1,300 recruits. And if you look at the issues that you're talking about, a lot of them are from that cadre. You could see from social media. And it is a concern. Yes, we've had reports regarding police mismanhandling, assault, and these things have been escalated. We've contacted the authorities. Your question was, this disciplinary action that they've told us they've taken, you said it has not reached its desired result because of what is happening. And I would say that, yes, I will want to agree with you that there's a lot of challenges. And that was why we felt, as a commission, that we need to tackle it at a very high level and say specific things in closed doors. I just want to assure you, and that was why I mentioned in my opening, that our role sometimes is not just in the press releases, but in the action that we take, the advisory role, and also to tell the police about the repercussions of those things. I don't know whether I've addressed that issue sufficiently, but I think linked to that is the issue of the public order. If you look at our reports since 2019, we've actually taken cue. We have talked about even the Faraba Banta Commission of Inquiry report, that they should, in 2019 report and 2020, and we said that if these recommendations relating to public management of public protests is done properly, it will help. It will go a long way. Not only did we do that, we came up even with an advisory note to the executive regarding public management of protests, but also revisiting the laws, the Public Order Act 1955, from moving from a permit to a notification. This is what we have been engaging the government at that level. But also, not only that, I think that is one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is we are policing Gambians. We are policing everybody in a democracy, and a democracy. And we cannot repeat that. And just to tell you that there are serious challenges, and these are issues that we've raised. The Commission had come up with a study, and also a validation was done on policing public assemblies, and also to the police code of conduct. And these were issues that we have raised, and we're telling the police that, listen, let us revisit these documents that you have validated and own, and let us do things in accordance with the law. It is work in progress, and I think we all agree that there are great challenges. It just shows that we have so much work to do, although we have been working in this area. But I just don't want to play it down and say that it's all nice and success. No, it's work in progress. I think, yes. And Aliu, you mentioned how, I think yours is to do with our independence, since we get money from the government. Yeah. How do we? Yes, by nature of the way national human rights institutions are, they do receive funding, operational funding from the government throughout the country. But do we shy away because we receive funds? No, we don't shy away. And I'm sure if you've been following the way we do things, from our reports, from our engagement with government. I think we have been very, very, very independent in the way we do things. But just to mention, just because also you receive funds from the government kitty, you have the judiciary. They also receive funds, and yet they do their work independently. So yes, it's people have always said this. Well, you're getting money from the government, but the National Human Rights Commission has been doing their work very independently, openly and in closed doors. We speak truth to authority. I will tell you, whether it's issues relating to charges on journalists for things that they write, or the president suing them, we go straight to the authorities and we speak to them, telling them why we believe X, Y, and Z is not good for the country, for democracy, and that's why we are monitoring it. Are they always happy with what we say or do? No. That's the nature of oversight institutions. All sides cannot be happy. And to borrow the cliche that we always use, we are not in the business of making ice cream. We are very slow. Sometimes the government is not happy, but we are maintaining our independence, and I am happy. The fact that's why I reported in the opening that we do not answer. This is the good thing. We do not report to the Minister of Justice or to any executive body. Our reports go to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly from time to time will call us to give them an update. And we can also contact them. Sometimes we have concerns and we channel our concerns to the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters. Yes, it's always a balancing act, because we also cannot just be civil society in the sense that we will verify reports that come, but also we need to open that door. We have an advisory role to government. We have to also be able to come and sit with them and speak to them, where maybe sometimes in public they may be embarrassed, and sometimes we'll have to write our press release so that they'll know that, listen, you've crossed the line. But a lot of the things we do, and we continue doing, with a lot of, especially some ministries, whether it's to do with whether we are not happy with the slow pace of the Disability Act, we talk to the Minister of Gender. Closed doors, we hold convergence. So these are the things that we keep on doing right across. I hope this answers your questions. But yes, but also let me just tell you that the way we do our work has been recognized to such an extent, because you cannot get an A status if they do not recognize your independence. The Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions, which accredits, give accreditation to national human rights institutions through an audit process, and one of it is independent. Is that institution independent in terms of the way it even does its recruitment from its commissioners, the way it does its work? And we have been rated that we're independent. Is it always easy? No. Oversight institutions will not be making friends all the time. You make friends on a weekly basis, you make enemies on a weekly basis. So I think maybe we can go to the second round, or if... Yeah, I said... Oh, sorry. My apologies.
So regarding the specific case which I mentioned, that there was disciplinary measure against the Gambia Immigration Department officer, our investigation team was able to establish that that particular individual was suspended at the time when immediately after the event happened. But also I want to add that since 2023, there is a criminal component to the issue of torture and inhuman and degrading treatment, and that is one of the things that we are pushing for to be implemented accordingly, because this would mean that in addition to internal disciplinary measures, because it would be a crime, or it is a crime to torture somebody, individuals will start to be prosecuted. So that is, and if you look at the report, you will find out that we've recommended for further investigation of all these cases, so that at the end of the day, the individual officers would start to be prosecuted by the state. But beyond even what we have now, we are pushing for the government to establish what is called a national preventive mechanism, so that this particular mechanism, whether it is embedded at the Ministry of Justice or wherever it is embedded, it will start picking up each of these cases individually, like we have in countries like Morocco and other places, and follow to the letter to make sure that when you torture somebody, you will be prosecuted and you face the consequences of the law. Hopefully, at the end of the day, it will yield results. Yeah. Thank you.
Is there anyone?
Okay, good morning. My name is Adama Mju from Teledal TV. And my question is, from your assessment, has the general state of human rights increased or declined in 2024?
Thank you. You set my question up very nicely. Thank you so much, my fellow journalists. Actually, this is very important. Just not too long ago, Tango was having a platform with about security and human rights, etc. And the police was there. One of the panelists, which is Mr. Tal, lawyer Sally Tal, former president of the Gambia Bar Association, he was there. The police, they were also there, representative spokesperson, and it was stated that, right, we are experiencing a democratic backsliding in the country. And I believe that aligns up, would you agree that we are experiencing a democratic backsliding in the country?
I'll take Adam's question, whether we have improved or declined for 2024. Based on the report and each of the individual thematic areas, you would see that we've indicated in many of the thematic areas whether compared to previous years whether there was an improvement. And for example, the issue of press freedom, the issue of unlawful killings by the state, and the issue of assembly, we realized that there was an improvement in terms of, for example, granting permits for that particular year to groups to go out in the street. We experienced that the state had on occasions given permits, and also in terms of the killings by state officials for that particular year, there was no report of extrajudicial killing in that particular year. In other thematic areas, such as the issue of trafficking in persons, we, as per the U.S. Department of State, we had remained at the same level compared to the previous year. So for these thematic areas where we compared other instances, for 2024, there was some improvement in terms of the state of human rights generally, and you will see in the report each of the thematic areas as to why we rate it as higher than compared to other periods in the country. Yeah.
Do you want to say something before I say something? You don't want to say something? Okay, I think this is from Flex.
Yes.
Sounds very interesting. Democratic
Backsliding.
Backsliding. Again, I don't know in what context. I'm sure he must have given, for him to have coined this one, he must have perhaps done an analysis of what is on the ground. But what I would say is that there are areas that we really need improvement. Definitely, we need improvement. But also, the backsliding, when does it start? I think after 2017, really, there is an improvement, whether we like it or not. The fact that we are even holding this press conference, but I'm not saying that it should stop there. So maybe the backsliding from a particular period, maybe from 2022 to now. But I think if you look at areas of, again, I would want to talk about maybe public assemblies, public order area. I think then much needs to be done. I think we're seeing, especially now with the advent of social media, certain scenes that really tells us that we need to do better. So that was why I was saying it's difficult to talk about this backsliding. I don't know in what context he said it. I don't know whether it's in the context of security sector?
Yes, security sector. It was a panel conversation on the way with the police.
Yes.
Talking about the security sector.
Sector, yes, yes. And just telling you also, the NHRC feels that there is much that needs to be done in that area. And that was why we even had this tete-a-tete with the police. It really needs room for improvement. I think the story is out there for us to see what has been happening. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anyone?
No question?
We have 15 more minutes to wrap this up.
There are no questions. I have more.
Thanks.
I do have more. There are no. Human rights is such a... I could sit here with you and discuss it the whole day, but we have a limited time. My question is about FGM, female genital mutilation. We've seen the death. Now, 2. The police have acted swiftly in one of them, but we've also seen what has come out of it. I mean, what's your response to this? 2 in 2025 have been reportedly killed through the practice, and legal action is now taking place. What's the NHRC? I've seen you've released statements, but the second one which occurred, I'm sure it must have been another blow to the commission, because of given that we thought that the police are actually working on this, it would act as a deterrent. Are the punishments sufficient in your view?
What was that? What was that?
The punishments, are they sufficient?
Well, okay. I think I like when you said that our position is very clear. And you probably saw the stance that the commission took when there were attempts made to reverse it. I think that was very clear from our submission to the level of the National Assembly, the convergence we had. And also we were one of the first institutions when the first which resulted in the death of the baby. We were one of the first institutions to come out strongly, and we even commended the police, because also let's for the first time the police came out not only openly but even the Ministry of is it communication run by Ismaila? They on behalf of the Ministry of Justice, they came out strongly to say that this is FGM is illegal in this country, and the law will be implemented. And again, we commended them, and we have been observing and we've been following. I understand that in the first case, the perpetrator has been charged with, I think, is it manslaughter? But she's been charged with the death. And of course, we will monitor to see where it's going. I see you shaking your head. Maybe you have more information.
No, I'm shaking my head because somebody has died.
Oh yes.
And
no.
They just charged them with manslaughter. This is why it also ties into my question: are the punishments sufficient?
Yeah. Okay. I think she was charged with manslaughter because Flex, the issue of murder and manslaughter is a legal case. When your intention straight away is not to kill, because I don't want to be legalistic. You have the intention to kill. Yes. If that intention was to cause grievous bodily harm, they were doing something, but the intention really, or albeit illegal and resulted in death, was not to kill. It's just, I'm just saying.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. We can have that legal conversation.
Yes.
Because of my concern in the act is very clear in that if it results to death, right? If FGM is done and it results to death, what should happen to that person?
Yes.
So, but that is not being followed. I don't believe, which is why I'm asking you. Perhaps manslaughter is sufficient in your view. I don't know. No. I'm not a lawyer now, but let's explore it.
So, Flex, this is the position of the commission. Yes, about my opinion, I'll also inject in this one. At the commission, we also believe that the law is not the only panacea, really, for the abandonment of FGM. If you read the concluding observations on CEDAW, the concluding observations on the Children's Act, the state has been told to have a multi-pronged approach to the abandonment of FGM. Because if you look also throughout Africa, the law has also not been very effective. Of course, when you have a law, it's not supposed to serve as a scarecrow. I mean, if the law says this, you need to. But at the Commission, we also believe that once we have the law, the state must also intensify awareness raising on the effects of FGM. The law must work with religious leaders and community leaders. The law must, the state must work with practicing communities, must work with health workers, everybody, so that there is a whole approach, systematic approach to the abandonment of FGM, because the stress only on the law is not going to give you your desired result. So, and at the office, at the Commission, we also want to be realist. There should be some realism in this whole thing. Even the way we do our messaging, we communicate. We at the end of the day, what we want, what we want is an abandonment or a complete eradication of FGM. And we also understand that the law is not your only way. Of course, I agree, and I think at the Commission we agree that if FGM results in death, the law says life imprisonment. If it results, so therefore, the state, the judiciary that implement that interprets the law must ensure that that is done. Exactly. And the Commission is also advocating for that. I remember about a few days ago I was even discussing with Commissioner Diba and some other staff, and we were saying, well, maybe we also even need to have a sentencing guideline, so that, you know, if it's not there, it needs to. If it is there, we need to see how does it also speak to the laws that we have. So at the level of the Commission, we are doing all of those things to ensure that the law doesn't become a scarecrow. Because if it becomes one, then there is no need to have a law. When the law if people are not afraid of the law, why should you have the law? But on the issue of FGM, I think we also recognize that there are other measures that also ought to accompany the law for us to have our desired result. And the desired result of the Commission, as far as FGM is concerned, it's total abandonment or eradication in the country. And certainly the law is not your only panacea for that.
Yeah.
There are no... Oh.
Thank you so much. My name is Edward Francis Dalia, a reporter of Ascandi. Just a follow-up on the FGM. I have learned that the NHRC are trying to also enter the legal battle, which is before the Supreme Court as a defendant. So have the NHRC have finally entered this legal battle? And my second question is with regards to the officers shooting, which is the soldiers, the shooting of Stanislas Gomez at the OIC highway. I don't know how far with that case. Have the NHRC investigate the case? Which level is that case?
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to go over this? Okay. All right. The issue of the FDMC case before the Supreme Court. You would probably know, if you have the context, that there's a petition before the Supreme Court of I think it's eight petitioners who are petitioning the Supreme Court that the law, the Women's Amendment Act of 2015, it's unconstitutional. I think that is the route they are taking. They say it's unconstitutional because it contravenes the religious and cultural right to practice FGM. So they therefore want the court to come up with a ruling to say that that law itself, it's unconstitutional because it contravenes I think section 25, section 24 of our constitution. That is what they're saying. So they have taken the Attorney General to court. So the National Human Rights Commission applied to be joined as a defendant. I think this is what is happening. If an individual, if an institution feels that they have an interest in a particular case, or the outcome of the case can affect them directly or the work they do, then they can apply to the court to be joined as a defendant. So this is the basis of our application to the court to be joined as a defendant, and we did so based on our mandate of promoting and protecting human rights, defending the rights of women, defending the rights of children, and FGM, it's a human rights issue. So we believe that we have local standi in this case. So the matter, just to update you, is before the court to make a decision whether they will allow us as an institution to be joined as a defendant so that we can defend that suit properly, not only as a friend of the court, but also to respond to the claim of the petitioners. So this is where we are. I hope that is clear. So we're waiting for a ruling. We're waiting for a ruling on that. Then the case of Stanislas, unless somebody wants to add on that.
So the NHRC did receive or did investigate that particular case, first by speaking with witnesses.
No, you're talking about Stanislas.
Stanislas.
Okay, no, okay. No, I thought FGM.
Oh, okay.
No, I wanted to say about FGM.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I think you have said everything.
Okay, and then you start with Stanislas. I will maybe add other things.
So it started with the NHRC attempting to, after speaking with the witnesses, including Stanislas, we attempted to interview the team from the Gambia Armed Forces that were at the scene. And when we went to the headquarters, initially, our investigators were denied access to speak with the officers. And this presented a very big challenge for NHRC because the officers indicated that they needed approval basically from the CDS, and then our investigators came back and we wrote a letter to Gambia Armed Forces requesting for a thorough investigation into the circumstances of the shooting. And at the time of reporting this particular report, that particular request was not complied with. And if you look at the report, the Gambia Armed Forces has been one of those institutions that have been particularly called out on this 2024 report, and it includes recommendations for thorough investigation and bringing to book of all those officers who were involved. But we did investigate. Yeah.
Just to add also, we also requested the GAF, the NHRC, with also Stanislas, to discuss issues relating to that particular shooting. But the outcome of that meeting, we felt that the officers that were sent to us did not have, they were not of a sufficient standing class to discuss the issues that were raised. So we wrote back to them, and they did write that they're willing to come. We requested very senior officers to come. They requested to come at a date, at a future date. But just to tell you that just this week, we wrote to the office of the CDS because I needed to see him on this particular issue. And I was told that he traveled, is out of the jurisdiction, but by next week, they'll give us a date. But just also to inform you that the issue of Stanislas was escalated to the then Minister of Defense, Serey Modu, and the PS of the Minister of Defense. So it has had major challenges, and the young man is very frustrated. but the matter is still on, and the NHRC is still carrying out its investigation on this matter, and we will definitely update you, especially the issue has to go to the level of the CDS and not the officers that were sent to the NHRC to discuss the matter.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this press briefing. I would now like to call our Deputy Executive Secretary just to give the closing remarks and word of thanks. It's Matilda Mendy.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Commissioners of the National Human Rights Commission, our staff here present, and our partners in the media, good morning. I am given the honor to deliver the closing / thank you. As has been said here, this press briefing was to disseminate our reports, by the NHRC on the status of human rights in the Gambia, and also the status of implementation of the TRRC recommendations, but also our activity report that details the work that the Commission has undertaken in the year 2024. I now take this opportunity to thank our chairperson, and also our chairperson, Mr. Emmanuel Daneju, our senior legal officer, Abdul Basiruba, our senior investigating officer, Abdul Mane, and Commissioner Drame, for this very interactive press briefing, and also the responses to your very pertinent questions. I also want to thank you, our media partners, for honoring our invitation to come to this press briefing to be updated on the work of the National Human Rights Commission in the year 2024, and to also disseminate our reports. I hope you take a copy of all of these reports as you leave, and we also hope that you will review the reports and update yourselves on the work of the National Human Rights Commission, especially the state of human rights in the Gambia and the TRRC implementation rate in the Gambia, which some of your questions were very pertinent.